This one time when I was about 6 years old, I was riding my bike around the neighborhood I grew up in on the north side of Chicago with my best friend at the time. And this kind of haggard, happy-looking puppy ran up to us, and it was obvious she had been abused and been on the street for a while. And we rode our bikes home, and she just followed us back, and she wouldn't leave us alone. And it was obvious that she kind of picked me to take care of her. And I took her home, and after a lot of convincing, I finally let my parents let me keep her. And they weren't happy about it, but I was. So I was about 24, so it was about 16, 17 years later, and I was at work, and I got a phone call from my mom, and she said that Rosie wasn't doing too good, and that, you know, she couldn't sit up, she couldn't eat, she couldn't take care of herself. So it was pretty obvious that she wasn't going to last much longer, and we were going to have to put her down. So I left work, I went home, I filled myself up with as many intoxicants as I could, and I got on the bus and rode north to go see my parents and say goodbye to my dog, who had been my best friend most of my life. And got off the bus, and my dad picked me up. And we were driving over to the house, and we were just kind of in the car, not saying anything. It was real quiet, and you know, it was a pretty sad night. And we got to the house, and I walked in the door. My mom was sitting on the floor with the dog, and my mom was crying. And, you know, I expected some tears, but not the way, you know, not the amount that she was crying. And, you know, I went up and hugged her, and she said, you know, my mom looked at me and said, when we pulled up in front of the house, Rosie lifted her head up for the first time and stood up and hobbled away all the way to the front door, which she hadn't done in days. And you know, she knew I was here, and you know, she knew I had come to say goodbye, and she wanted to come and greet me for one last time. So we all just kind of stayed there in the living room in the front of the house for I don't even know how long, but it you know, I sat there on the ground with her head in my lap, and I just pet her and talked to her, you know, and whispered in her ear and told her how much I loved her, and you know, she looked at me whenever she could. And finally I just decided that it was time to go, and I picked her up and I carried her back to her bed, and I laid her down and I kissed her, and I left. And I couldn't be there. There was something in me that couldn't be there when my mom took her to be put down. But you know, my mom called me the next day and, you know, said that she had taken her to the vet, and they had put her to sleep, and she went real peacefully, and you know, she went out, you know, with the same look on her face as she did when she came into my life. So that's how I got to say goodbye to Rosie.